Rick Tumlinson. I'm with SpaceFund, and I've been in the space field for about 30 years. We're now basically looking to create some stuff. Oh, you just want the name?
Yeah, no, a bit closer. No. So, like, I would like to hear what.
Right here.
Exactly. Yeah. Everybody
Okay.
Use my DJ voice. No, Rick Tumlinson. I'm with SpaceFund. I've been working in the field about 30 years, and as you've seen in the news, we're starting to get some breakouts from the planet with Jeff and Elon and the others that are moving out there. So we're trying to populate that. I hate to use jargon, but the ecosystem of space with entrepreneurs. So we're trying to line up people who want to invest in space with those who need the investments so they can move in and sort of begin to develop the frontier.
Very, very cool. My son would love to apply.
Great.
I'm John Walsh. I've been in blockchain for about 18 months, 2 years now. And the firm I'm with, Blockchain Rookies, does blockchain education and strategy for corporates. There's been so much noise about blockchain that not many people really understand it. There's been too much hype. So there's either too much hype or people just think it's vaporware. And we try and deliver real education so that corporates can lay down an actual blockchain strategy, even if that strategy is they don't need blockchain today.
Excellent. Really good. Welcome.
My name is Johan van den Arend Schmidt. I'm with IBM, and we are probably one of the leading blockchain companies in the world. We are currently involved in over 100 blockchain projects, helping small startups in the green energy, for instance, to very large mining companies, and in all kind of dimensions, looking at things like food trust, where we're looking at how where your food comes from and have it certified, to big trading platforms where parties can find each other and exchange and trade using blockchain.
Very cool. Brilliant. And thank you. And Sasha?
Good afternoon. Alexander Shulgin. I'm in blockchain from the beginning of this technology, and investor in blockchain, including one company which was in the first panel, Bitfury, and early investor in Bitfury, and 40 more companies in my portfolio in blockchain. And I'm in real business, which means we are largest mining company. We have the largest mining facilities, computing power, and we make every day money for our investors and for ourselves, and we build infrastructure for your future application.
As we get into this, and it's one of the original, let's say, use cases of blockchain, and almost the way that it was meant to work, was mining. Now I'm going to have, let's say, I guess you're already doing new mining, and I guess you space guys, you might be doing new and newer mining. What's the latest? I mean, what can you see as in the futures of whatever the sort of technology mining, and then afterwards, I'd be fascinated for you if you're looking at space mining. Sasha, if you want to talk about the future of mining, we're going to start.
The future of mining,
because you did the past
as well.
I
think it will be at least two different kind of mining. It will be industrial infrastructure for industrial Internet of Things, for space, for smart cities, and so on, and will be like for consumers. For consumers, there's one of my portfolio company, we can mine through the phones. So your phone, if you don't use it, you can mine. You can mine, which can mine so-called cryptocurrency, but you have to understand that it's not cryptocurrency, it's so-called cryptocurrency. You mine infrastructure. Every single block you mine, this is every single kilometer for automotive industry. You can think. So the future will be go for the big industrial things, which you need to have a strong computing power for this. And for social, you can use your billions of devices to make a net, so net to communication and some applications.
Can you make it a little bit more practical? So I'm just trying to get in my head, what does it mean if I'm on my phone mining for an automotive car? What does that actually mean? Or for infrastructure, like, what's going on?
Warren Buffett, few months ago, told that he don't understand what brings for what brings for society, what the blockchain brings to society. And but he's an old dude, so I mean, he don't understand that if you just compare with the automotive industry, which is in Europe, understand what it means. So automotive industry, you need to first build a road, highway, Autobahn, infrastructure. Then you can bring any car. Any car will drive this Autobahn. So mining, it's an infrastructure. So all this application, ICO, ITO, and everything, it's application. But without infrastructure, it will not fly. It will not fly. No one application have now, with all this hype and everything application, no one have more than 1,000 users. But if they will, can you imagine, if you need will be, let's say, 100 million users, you will need fucking backup of your infrastructure. And if you just go to IBM or Amazon Web Service, it will be centralized things. But you need a decentralized infrastructure. You need to have a huge computing power, decentralized computing power. Yeah. And for the industrial things, or for sustainable, like smart cities and everything, you need to have a really serious computing power machine. But for some, like the social things, it's enough these machines, or the future of this chips will mine. Yep.
And the space aspect, are we going to be living in like Total Recall, the first movie, where we're mining on Mars thanks to this type of technology today?
I hope so, everywhere actually. But you know, tomorrow I'll be giving a keynote in the main room where I'll talk about the actual vision part of it. But as far as this relates to blockchain, what we're using in SpaceFund is the idea of the security token, so that people can get investments into the field, which normally space you would think of as sort of an infrastructure project, which is many years long. So if we can introduce sort of the liquidity that you can have through security tokens, then people can ride through the first year. You know, in the US, you have to hold your securities for a year. But after the first year or two, maybe you want to go sideways. Maybe your kid in college wants a Tesla, and you've got to get out of the space field or something like that. So we're introducing liquidity into the field by having the security tokens. And at the same time, what I've found as I've voyaged into your field, which, you know, I'm a space guy. This is, you know, last year I had to go up the learning curve of blockchain, and you know, I was running around using words like Merkle tree, and you know, my friends in blockchain were like, "Oh, isn't he so cute? You know, he's trying to speak, you know, blockchain." But what we found is that this crowd, the blockchain community, are already future-oriented. They're already thinking about revolutionary ways of moving into the future, which lines up perfectly with the space field. So we can put these things together and have a relationship between human beings that's changing through blockchain. And at the same time, we can then move into this new frontier together. And through blockchain and the simplicity of it, the transparency of it, the way we can do know your customer, anti-money laundering, all of that so simply, using the blockchain, we can open it up to more and more people, and they can participate in the frontier.
Yeah, I just wanted to add maybe a bit down-to-earth example here. Sorry for the pun here.
Absolutely.
Just a question here for the people here. When you buy a diamond for yourself or for a friend, something
every
like
day.
that, every day, yeah, it's a day. You have diamonds which come from war territories. People actually get killed to get that diamond to you. And you have diamonds who come from responsible mining. Who of you wouldn't care? You just want to have the cheapest diamond. Don't care about children dying. Anyone, raise your hands. Be brave. One there.
One guy.
I can't see your face, but I talk to you later. So I think most of you would say, we do care where that diamond comes from, right? You do not want to know, I buy this diamond and actually people have been killed for it, children died. That is where blockchain comes in, right? Blockchain comes in because each diamond is unique. It has a unique pattern. And you can put that pattern in a blockchain. And you can tell where you found that diamond. You can certify it. And now whenever you buy a diamond, you can actually check on the blockchain and see this diamond with this pattern, where did it come from? This is a very powerful way of actually making the world just that small bit better. It's maybe very much down to earth. It's maybe not that sexy about the future, but it's something we're doing today. And it will come to the market in the next months, actually. Yeah.
Just to pick up on that, I think it's an interesting idea, and I think it's a brilliant idea to be able to put diamonds on the blockchain. The problem still stands, and this is one of the fundamental things with blockchain from an understanding perspective, is that it can still be information can be put incorrectly. It can say it's not a blood diamond on the ledger, and it's still a blood diamond, because immutable does not equal true.
People will always find a way to cheat, right? But you can make it more and more difficult for them. In this case, actually, you can see from the chemical structure of the diamond, you can determine where it comes from, and you put that in the blockchain. So yes, maybe someone is very smart, and they can, you can put it in a nuclear reactor, and it changes the chemical structure. But yeah, I mean, they will probably find a way, but for 99% of the diamonds, we think we fixed it.
So this brings me to something, which is that blockchain is just a fundamental layer. It's just a database, right? Just a simple database. Well, it's a little bit fancy, but it's a database. But it's when you tie it in with things like crypto anchors, where the blockchain really comes to life, where you can, we know that the diamond is not a blood diamond. We know that the whiskey is real. We know that the olive oil is genuine and it's not been muddied down. So it's about, for me, blockchain's use with other technologies, whether it's crypto anchors, IoT, and then you have a data lake for AI to come in.
What's a crypto anchor?
So a crypto anchor is something which is unique to the product. It can be as simple as a QR code which you have printed on it. But typically what you do, and I don't want to be pushing our company too much, but we've created something called the verifier. You clip it onto your iPhone, and it takes, together with our artificial intelligence, it actually analyzes a very detailed picture of it. So you can actually, from a paper document, the way how the paper fibers interlace is a unique picture. And actually, a lot of paper has a difference. So you take a picture of the paper, and you have your crypto anchor. A diamond, you look at the chemical composition, or actually the special elements of the refraction, and that gives you a crypto anchor. So it's something physically attached to the product, which you then can link to the blockchain. And then the physical world and the virtual world are linked. Very powerful technology. Yeah.
I'm quite interested. So my background is business-to-business software. And but I also had a startup in Silicon Valley when it was the first .com craze. But I remember the CEO of IBM saying that all of these little .com companies were mere fireflies before the storm. And that always struck me, is that big corporates, major corporates, they're major employers, major driver wealth. These are the ones that eventually, even if you have the little bitsy startups like the Ubers of the world, itsy bitsy, it's like the corporate use is going to be very interesting. Now we have people that are, let's say, sort of teaching and getting involved in the use, and I guess provider. What's happening in the world of corporates and blockchain? Are they taking it up? Are they like dipping their toes in? Are they sort of full bore?
83% of corporations out there are working with blockchain at the moment. So it's hot. Now, that goes everywhere on the spectrum, from the board of directors thinking, oh, we really should know a bit more about this blockchain thing, to all the way of, we want to change our industry. We want to change the way how we operate with our customers, how we operate with our suppliers, how we operate with our competitors, and really change the way they operate. We see the whole spectrum. Typically, you see kind of an evolution. It always starts with a bit of a paper study, a bit of strategy. Thousands of these have happened. That's all in the past. Most companies know what they want to do now. Most companies know what their strategy in the blockchain space is. And the interesting bit is now, platforms at scale are being built. So where trade finance is being done in Europe, where the first 14 banks are signed up and decide how they're going to do that on a blockchain platform going forward. Things like TradeLens or Food Trust, very interesting. I mean, anyone dare to guess what bit of fair trade product is not fair trade? Anyone? It's about a third, right? So if you add together all the fair trade products which are being sold, and you look at all the fair trade products being produced, there's a difference of about 30% between them. So there's money to be made there. People like to fraud or make a quick buck. So that's what they do. Again, what you can do is use blockchain to very much make sure that these mass balance adds up. so that the amount of fair trade beans coming out of a certain country match up with the number being exported and distributed and ending up in the shops, etc. So this gives you some extra comfort. You can think about halal or kosher food. How do you know for sure that it is? I mean, put a blockchain against it. You can think around organic food, right? Again, there was just a new study done that around half of the food labeled as organic is not completely organic, and around 10% is not organic at all. Again, people pay a price premium for the product, and they expect to get what they want. So again, a very powerful way how to introduce blockchain there. 83% of companies are working at the moment, and it's very interesting to see these things now getting to scale. We're talking very big platforms. Yeah.
So we're seeing a lot of corporate interest in blockchain. And it kind of stops there. They're not too sure what to do with it. There are lots of issues. The barrier to blockchain adoption at enterprise is not technical. It is purely human, trying to understand a new paradigm, how to work with a decentralized technology, and with it being decentralized, how to work with your competitors to raise overall standards within an industry. And that brings on to, what is organic, right? We see organic on the side of a box of X. What is organic? What are the do we have a standardized methodology for what that is before we say this is organic or this is free trade, fair trade? So there is a lot of interest, or I should change that. There's a lot of curiosity at the corporate level. Moving it forward to interest and moving forward with POCs, I think it's slightly less. If a company the size of IBM is got 100, and that's IBM, right? And yes, there's other companies, but it's still pretty much lacking. But I think what's key with what you said was 83% of companies are involved with. That may be that they're not creating their own blockchain, but they are joining a consortia or looking to join a consortia. So I think words are important in this space, so we do understand the portents of what's actually happening.
Yeah, and sometimes actually the world is much more boring than probably you want to hear, but what is on the top 10, one of the key issues you run into when you start building a blockchain at scale? Anyone? Probably if you haven't done it, you're not going to guess. It's actually how to organize the help desk. Because you have a decentralized technology, people using it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all over the world. What do we do with this help desk? What languages to set up? How do you actually get access to that blockchain for the help desk? Because, with the security layer on top of it, you can't. It's a mundane issue like that, which is stopping the big rollouts of the massive blockchain project. So the technology is really straightforward, right?
Well, and actually, Rick, I mean, you're from an old industry that is doing new things. How is the space industry picking up blockchain at all?
It's interesting. About 3 weeks ago, I was in Colorado Springs as part of a think tank on, you're going to laugh, but a thing called Space Force. And Space Force. And our job was to actually look 40 or 50 years in the future. They brought a few of us in, and I have to tell you, it was a total geek out fest. We're having a huge good time.
It does sound awesome, by the way.
Yeah, it's fun, but it's really, gets into things like verification, signals, ownership, et cetera, et cetera. So we were introducing blockchain to some of these folks, and I'm running into this in the aerospace industry too. They don't know what it is. They don't know how to apply it. They have a feeling that might be useful. Now, the leading edge people in the part of the field, what we call new space, that I'm engaged in, are starting very much to embrace it. And folks like you are going to help us figure out how to implement it, but the possibilities, chains of ownership when you get out into the solar system, transfer of financial goods and services, all of this kind of thing, verification, signals, that you could lay in a blockchain signal into your command structure for your robotics, things like that. Fractional ownership, when people are starting to go out and look at maybe creating settlements, and they can do fractional ownership of the investment, but also people participating in the actual building of the settlement can then have some sort of ownership using blockchain. And then finally, it gets down to the mining aspect where we're talking about vast amounts of energy and vast amounts of heat output, et cetera. We can move that into space as well. You know, I gather, and I'm going to get this way wrong, but from what I understand, some of the mining energy requirements were equal to certain countries in Europe in the last year, something along that line. If that were, we could move that into space. You know, we have solar energy, things like that, 24 hours a day. So we don't know where it's going to fit in, but these two frontiers are going to come together and enable each other. And by the way, the kind of anarchist-oriented, libertarian folks that adopt blockchain will have somewhere to go and start their new societies.
Shoot them off into space. No,
Exactly. We're out of here. You know, it's singularity. You guys stay down here. The rest of us, we're going out there.
One thing has been curious to me, do you see a lot of fake blockchain projects? Like people, I mean, corporates normally, like, they take the buzzword of the day, they stick the word on it so you can get budget. So I know there are a lot of fake AI projects. Are there a lot of fake blockchain projects out there? By the way, we're going to turn off the mics now, if that's okay.
I don't know about fake, but lots of crap. There's just where projects are using blockchain where they do not need blockchain, where they are not decentralized and they have no path to decentralization, where simply blockchain is not required. It's almost being done as a hype to get funding.
Shock. I'm shocked. Really am
yeah,
shocked.
I'm glad you were sitting down for that. So yeah, there's a ton. You know, people just have latched onto blockchain without understanding distributed, decentralized, and immutable, and what that brings. And then looking to people are using blockchain rather than looking to solve problems. And we were having this conversation earlier. It's you know, what is the problem that you're trying to solve? Start there, and then go, okay, what technology can I utilize that will help solve that? If you're starting with blockchain is the answer, what's the question? It's kind of the wrong way around. And that's what we're seeing a lot at the moment. And hopefully we're going to move through this phase through 2019. And what I'm actually expecting, and hopefully you know, from companies like IBM, is that come conference season this year, September, October, November, we're going to see lots of corporates announcing that they've been quietly working on proof of concepts that's going to, and now they're willing to talk about it because it's not failed. And it de-risks the rest of the industry to be able to go, we need to be getting involved in this now. So I'm expecting a lift towards the end of this year and seeing some real stuff happening.
And will we see a lift? I'm looking at you.
Question for me. You know, I was trying to move the question on. What we see, we're in the shakeout phase at the moment. So lots of startups started 2 years ago. New technologies came to the market, like Ethereum, etc. Very low hurdles to get in there. Everyone with a computer can do something and pull something together in the garage. We're now at the point where these things actually can be tested against any business sense. Does it actually work or not? And that's a shakeout phase. And probably investors like you are very much looking at which are the ones which are going to succeed now.
What's the question?
Well, yes, Sasha, I mean, so you've been one of the let's say, longest time successful investors in the space that I know of personally. We've hung out and had a lot of chats. Has this developed the way that you thought back, 5 or 6 years ago? And what are your expectations around how this whole industry is going to develop over the next few years? What does your crystal ball tell you?
I'm very positive, first of all, I'm very positive. But for these things, our next step, we need to have two major things. The connectivity, the next level of connectivity, like a 5G or following by 5G NRU, unlicensed decentralized network, which will make a fly any application.
What is NRU?
NRU.
What is it?
It's a, you know, LTE. So the technology which is go like in the 6G, not 5G, but after 5G,
I'll need to
it
Google
will be decentralized technology. Maybe our Deutsche Telekom people know it. Yeah, and it's we need wider broadband. The first of all, and the second is it's standardization, because when any ICO, ITO project come to me and try to pitch, and my first question is, which standard do you use to make this? And because there is no standard yet. You just remember 1993, TCP was protocol was chosen as a standard, and then internet fly. Then it's www and email comes and all other application which we are still use it now. So we need to have a standard. Otherwise, one startup just have our own algorithm with another startup. They just don't match. So there is no standard. And any kind of regulatory, I don't know, maybe software will, of course, blockchain will disrupt a lot of third parties. And so blockchain can be, the natural blockchain can't make regulation by themselves, finally. But still, we need some regulatory for this. Everyone needed, and especially from anarchists also needed. But the bandwidth and standard we need, yes. And I think the next 2 years will come with a good network, a better network, and with the standards, at least will be 6, 7 standards. China will have their own standard, a British Commonwealth have their own standard, Eurasia can have another standard, so we will see what's going on, but we need it.
And just to build on what you're saying, is one of the things which is very hot at the moment is the network of networks. So where we're looking at is how are we going to now get in blockchain, you have Ethereum Quorum, you have Corda, you have Stellar, you have Hyperledger. The key, more than 1,000. Well, I was already happy to get to 4, but but actually, at least for those 4, we are now building the network of networks, so that at least those can start to talk together, and that you don't have to completely redo everything from one standard into another, but actually just connect blockchains, even if they're written in a different standard and a different protocol.
Maybe it will become standard for British Commonwealth. But China will build already their own standard.
Well, China will do their own thing, right?
Yes, of course. So that's then you need to have a hub or gateway between all these standards. Remember that 30 years ago for the TV, it was a standard like a PAL, SECAM, and TSC. If you just buy DVD in the US, you cannot see it in Europe and vice versa. So this will be happened now, 6, 7 standard for a blockchain or decentralized things, cybersecurity. So the markets want to hedge their own business, their own things. So this is isolationism, which we can see now in the politics. See the Trump, see the China now. This is isolationism. So that we need to have this, not we need to have, we will have these firewalls and to hedge the markets. So this firewall will have their own standards. And the standards of cybersecurity and the blockchain as a part of the trust or something trust. So we will waiting for this standardization. In G20, the last G20 in November, the all heads of the states of 20 states, they signed communique within 2019, which is this year, which they have to bring some standards of the cybersecurity decentralized technology. So let's see what's going on.
I mean, it's going to be very interesting looking at, let's say, the battle between entrepreneurs, technologists, and also regulators as well. Because after all, I mean, whilst we might like to exist in a vacuum, in space you would actually exist in a vacuum, we don't. So any ideas? I mean, unfortunately, it's like we should have 20 minutes to discuss regulation and everything else. I mean, do you see any promising signs from government that they're actually going to help us move forward, or do you see them putting blocks and roadblocks everywhere? Anybody concluding thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, if you look at the cryptocurrencies, it's very obvious that is a major area of concern. So when you talk to the regulators, they're really struggling with it and trying to create laws in order to limit it. We see that therefore mostly in the financial sector at the moment. But at the same time, they also start, at least in the most of the regulators I've spoken to in Europe, they realize that they can't put the genie back in the bottle. It's out there, and they better find regulation around it than trying to stop it. Very different from China, where they just try to stop it. Yeah.
The natural tendency of all governments is control. And all bureaucracies want to see everything that's put in, that comes out from their citizens, put into slots that they can manage and control. Whether it's in a democratic system or a totalitarian system, that's their natural tendency. Now we're starting to see, we had a call a few weeks ago with the US SEC, and it was interesting because it was filled with some very awkward pauses on both ends. You know, we're talking to each other. They don't know quite what to make of what we're doing. We don't know quite what, you know, to make of what they're doing. So if we can create more of a dance with each other and begin working together, and we're starting to see some countries that are really stepping up, you know, be it Malta or Luxembourg or the UK. Yes, yeah, you know, all these interesting countries that are coming in on it, trying to create something. It'll rise up, I think, just naturally as we move forward.
Well, and I'm a great believer that as technologists and entrepreneurs understand election cycles and how democracy works, it's possible to write laws. It's been done before, it'll be done again. So I think it's an area that we need to start working on. But I'd like a big round of applause for all of our panelists. It's been fascinating, absolutely interesting. Sasha, can you stay on here? But so many, many thanks. Thank you very much. Sasha is going to be up on next.